Welcome into the Bluegrass Burnouts podcast. As always, it is Zack and Cody here, talking with you guys this week about our power rankings after week one at Daytona. Now, Cody, just like we've been talking about off camera, it is a little bit hard here to kind of establish a good and solid power rankings. Plus, we both kind of do our own different thing. I have my own little formula, which I'll explain later. Basically, that I take into account a little bit of history, not a lot. Than how the driver does throughout the year and how they're performing right now. While I know Cody, he usually does a true power ranking just kind of based off, the vibes, how the driver's been doing lately. So we do it a little bit differently, but this week is going to be different just because it is only after 1 week. It's really going to take, I think, Cody, at least for NASCAR, it takes about 6 weeks to really get a solid power ranking. After that Easter break, that's really when you can start saying, okay, this guy's here, and we're starting to get a little bit of a playoff picture. But we're going to go with what we have. Any comments before we start on this, Cody?
Yeah, not really. You kind of hammered it home there. Just, it's very difficult to go about this. And, well, difficult isn't even really the word. It's just kind of, everyone's going to have their own opinions. Everyone gets thrown in. Everyone has their own ways of doing things. Like you said, me personally, I'm more of a this is what has happened. This is what's going on this season. And there's definitely some vibes thrown into that. There's some I think this person can hold on to what they've got. And we'll talk about that going later on. But like you said, you really don't get a good grasp of it until at least I would say 4 or 5 races in, but six is honestly a pretty good number. Like, for example, last year you have Christopher Bell winning 3 races in a row. And, if you stop right there, he's number one all the way.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it went pretty quickly downhill for him after that. So getting those
Yeah, and
couple extra
then
races in there, it can completely change everything. But,
yeah, you also
what's
had
going on right
Josh
now?
Bell too. Excuse me, not
Josh
Josh Bell,
Berry,
Josh
yeah.
Berry.
Yeah,
Josh Berry win that Atlanta race, and that
sure
looked
did.
great for a couple weeks, and he had a couple good weeks. But then he's still in the
I had
playoffs
him,
with the old format, and he was
yeah.
on there for a while, at least for me.
Dude,
I
I
mean, I
had him
probably
top three at one point.
yeah, same here, same here. We will
But
get
yeah,
it all figured out, though. I really do think that first Bristol weekend is the really like the week where you can start because we've been to super speedway, been to an intermediate, then we've been to a short track at that
yeah.
point. So
Definitely
you
once
can
you get
really,
all the tracks and all the types of racing,
oh yeah,
that's definitely a big part of it.
yeah, it is. So we'll go ahead and start here, Cody. I'll let you do the honors first. Who is your number 10 to start the year?
Yeah, we'll get this started off. And my number 10, I kind of had a little bit of debate around this, but I went with Carson Hocevar. And he didn't have the finish. Obviously, you get involved in that wreck coming to the white flag. But Hocevar had a hell of a weekend. Was running towards the front a lot. Just overall felt great. I believe he ran all 3 series this weekend. Did he run Xfinity as well? I
Well,
know
it's
he
the
runs
O'Reilly series now, but
O'Reilly. Yes,
I know
almost
I've been
forgot on
messing up
that
on
one.
that too.
Almost forgot.
Dude, all my copious notes that I have on this page, literally it's just X and then just crossed out O'Reilly, so you're okay.
Pretty
But
much.
I don't know. I know he ran trucks.
I know he ran those two.
I
That didn't go too
don't
well for him either.
no, not at all. But I don't remember. Honestly, I'll be 100% honest with you with the weekend that I had with it just being, living in the southeastern United States now, more the south central United States with Mardi Gras being a thing down here. I did not do anything on Saturday besides Mardi Gras stuff.
Hey, can't blame
But
you there. Can't blame you.
no, not at all. But I believe he did. I believe he did.
I believe so as well, but if I'm wrong, so be it. But at the end of the day, he's sitting ninth place in the season point standings. Obviously, you're only one race and the duel's in, but still, you've got those points. He's looking good, and he just looked super good throughout this
Yeah,
race.
he
And
did.
a lot of putting him in this situation as well as how confident I felt about him last season.
Hmm.
And I'm a guy who's really high on Hocevar. I love his personality, a lot of his content off the track as well. I'm a big fan of, but on track, I love his mentality. I love the way he races, and him being ninth in points. leading coming to the white flag, I feel like it would be just wrong to not have him on this list.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and we will see him very soon on mine. But for number 10, I went with Zane Smith, Cody. Zane Smith, solid truck career, moves up into Cup. I believe it's his third year in Cup now, and he has just gotten better and better. First year was a little rough, last year was a lot better. He ran up near the top pretty much the whole day. He was there at the end. He had a chance to help Chase Elliott win. It's just a drafting track the way that everything works. He was still able. He did get caught up in the wreck at the end, so that did damper his day a little bit. But if you look at Zane Smith, he is sitting fourth in points right now, in a guy that is in, you could say, inferior equipment. No offense to his current team, but they are not as good as the big three when it comes to equipment. Still ran really well. Really excited to see what he does this year. And I'm gonna go ahead and say my number eight my number nine, because it is what you had, Cody. Carson Hocevar. You pretty much got all the points that I had there. He looked great. We love his attitude on track. I love his offline content, off the track, because all the stuff he does when he is not on the track is a really good way to bridge the gap. That doesn't go into my power rankings, but I would be very, very confident in saying that Carson Hocevar will win a race this year, because how
Oh,
much he
oh yeah.
improved throughout the season last year. He's got a great start to the year this year. He looked really good at Atlanta last year too. There's a
Yeah,
really solid
absolutely, man.
chance. He's a dark horse for Atlanta. I would bet him top 10 in this race. I would 100% be confident in putting money on him being top 10 going into next week. But just talking about this week, obviously he did not have the finish that he liked. I believe he dropped all the way down to
19th.
17th. Yeah,
19th,
like
I believe.
19th. Yeah, 19th. I knew it was somewhere, outside the top 15, but not the finish he wanted, but he looked strong. Who's your number eight, Cody?
Yeah, my number eight, I have Ryan Blaney. And this is one I really did kind of shuffle this spot around. I knew I wanted to get Hostvar on there, but I was kind of stuck between Blaney and Herbst on this one, which
Okay.
kind of feels weird to say, but obviously Herbst had a good race, good finish, was able to avoid the accidents, and is looking decent in points right now. And hopefully he'll be able to maintain that. I really just kind of wanted to say that so I can give him a shout out for having a good race. Don't know how often we'll be able to say his name this
Yeah,
season.
exactly.
So just give him a shout out for having a good race. But Ryan Blaney, the Fords dominate the super speedways, honestly. And we kind of talked about it during the last video. Stage two, stage three was dominated by the Toyotas, but the Fords are always dangerous. And a big part of putting Ryan in that spot was that I think he's going to be able to continue this going into next week. I
Yeah.
think Blaney's going to be not even a dark horse. Blaney is going to be a front runner to win this race next week. And, he didn't have the finish he wanted, but he's sitting there at 10th in points. And I think that, it's Ryan Blaney, man. He's already a champion of the sport. Sky's the limit for him this season.
Exactly. Yeah, so I'll be honest with you too. The 8, 7, and 6 spot on my list, I shuffled a lot. And I came with Brad K at the number 8 spot. In a Ford, looked really good. He is sitting at 6th in points for this year. He's going to get that win sometime this year. He's going to
Gotta
get it.
believe.
He's going to get it. It's going to happen. And, just it's like you said with the Fords. The Fords look good. Him and Chris Buescher looked really good. They were set up in a position to win that race at the end. Believe he got caught up in the wreck. He got caught up in one of them. Was it the white flag wreck, or was it the wreck with Buescher and Hamlin that he got caught up in? I can't quite remember.
Oh, I honestly don't remember.
I don't remember either, and
I
I
know he
honestly
was
did.
he was there at the end. We'll put
He
it
was
that
there at
yeah,
the end,
he
though.
was
He
there
was
at
there
the
at
end.
the end. That's all that
With the
matters, is that he was there at the end.
when Riley Herbst made that move, he actually hit Keselowski,
Yes.
got him into the wall.
Yes, that's what it was.
That's what it was. Yep. I
But
was
yeah,
like, you're
Brad
right.
K.
It's around there somewhere. It couldn't
The
put
thing
me on
with
the spot.
Brad K is he's turned now RFK, used to be Roush Fenway Racing, into and back into a powerhouse, with the money, with the
Absolutely.
sponsors, with everything. And they look good. They're gonna win a race this year again, whether it's him or Busher or even one of their, other cars now. But, they're the main two, obviously. but they're going to look good. And then I'll just go ahead and say my number 7 as well, Cody. My number 7, Ryan Blaney. Same thing like you said, like with Brad K. Fords are dominating the super speedways this era. You know, Ryan Blaney looked really poised to win that race last year at Atlanta before the incident that they had. And I would be very confident in choosing him to win again. Obviously, I did go with Brad K in our other video, but went with Ryan Blaney at the 7. You pretty much said everything I could say about it. Who's your number 7, Cody?
I believe not. I know this is first video. I believe we skipped over my 8 actually.
Did
So
we
I'm just
skip
gonna
over
hop.
your 8? I'm
We
sorry.
did. So I'm just gonna hop back real quick. Not a problem. Hey, it's first video. We're all getting the swing of everything.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna talk too long. We kind of already covered this one. I've got Zane Smith at the 8.
Okay.
You've kind of already said all of it, but my big difference was that he's sitting at fourth in points right now, and I want to give him as much credit for that as I possibly can. As much as he's another one of those guys where we're not really sure how long we're going to be able to have his name on this list, but he had a hell of a start, and I personally would love to see him be able to keep it up. But obviously, we'll see how that goes. We got another drafting track with Atlanta. So, and again, a Ford. So we'll see how he's able to handle that and how that all goes. Um, but jumping up to my 7, I've got Bubba Wallace. And man, obviously his teammate wins this race, but Bubba was there as well. Bubba, during that last accident on the coming to the white, when William Byron got sent off the apron, came right back up the track, and got put right into Bubba's wake. And man, if he didn't have Byron essentially get put into his lap, I do think that Bubba would have had a chance to win this
He
race.
would have 100%.
Would have absolutely been able to make a run, probably would have locked up with Tyler. It definitely would have been an interesting, a very interesting finish. Not that
Oh
we
yeah.
didn't already get one, but just crazy to imagine what that could have looked like. But unfortunately, he did get dealt the hand that he did. But you get that 10th place finish. He's sitting at 8th in points, and another guy where I do believe that sky could be the limit. This 2311 team has improved so much since their inception. They keep winning races. Bubba won Crown Jewel race, the Brickyard 400 last year, and don't be surprised if he wins a couple races this year. Obviously winning a race isn't something that's easy. You can't go and say that everyone's going to win multiple races, but you have those guys that that could do it, and Bubba's one of those guys, and is sitting at my 7.
Yeah, I'll say this as well, because if you see me looking to the right, Cody, it's because the way that my setup is now. I used to have it that my TV was in front of me. Now it's to my right. So I'm actually watching these I'm watching the highlights of the race while we're
Yeah,
talking
there you
about
go.
this a little bit.
Hey, gotta refresh
But
a little bit. Gotta
you
refresh.
do. Yeah, I'm mostly doing that so that I can refresh. One thing, dude, shout out to Michael McDowell for having himself in that place at the end of the
Absolutely.
race too. I know
Absolutely.
he's not going to be on here, but shout out to Michael McDowell. Dude is he's a Daytona 500 winner. He's one of those
Yeah,
guys
man.
that you wouldn't really
Oh
think
yeah.
about it, but he's one of those guys that he's always going to be in a dangerous spot for the chase. Like
He's
he definitely
always.
he's a dark horse. He's so good. He's a very he's never really been in a position where he can have the best machinery, but when he has a car that's on it, he's on it. And it's very good.
He's also just one of those guys that is always there for the super
Yeah,
speedways.
he is. He's always
1000%.
there.
You're never gonna miss out on him. All right. Well, I'm
Now
gonna go
that
ahead and move up to my 6.
yep.
This one was a little bit interesting. I kind of wasn't sure where to put this guy, but I did settle on 6. Ricky Stenhouse. Obviously, he's a big super speedway guy. This is his forte.
Also a Daytona
Um,
500 winner.
yeah, he is. Yes, sir. And gotta give him his flowers here. You get through the race, you stay clean. I don't know if he got majorly involved in any of the big accidents, but all that matters at the end of the day is that he was there. Gets away with a second place finish. He's looking good right now. And, you got another super speedway coming up. Another guy where he could have a string of 2 good finishes here if everything plays out in his favor. He's sitting at 5th in points. He's a guy that has proven that he can get it done. And he's he he's a danger, man. Like on these super speedways, he's one of those guys where you never truly know. You can never truly count him out. He's kind of like a
No,
Michael
never.
McDowell, like you said. Can't count him out, so I've got him at 6.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and go to my 6. I picked Chris Buescher. Another Ford. I was really, really torn where to put these Fords together. I would say of all of them, Buescher had the best day. That's why I put Buescher at the top.
Oh yeah,
He's another one of those guys that he sets himself up to win constantly. Ever since that win at Bristol, I believe it was 3 years ago now. Wow. 3 years ago at Bristol.
was that really?
No, it was 4. You know why? Because that was my senior year. That was 4 years ago now. That was 22, Bristol night race. But ever since that win, Buescher was one of those guys that he was kind of like a Michael McDowell a little bit. Like, he was there. You knew he was there. He'd be dangerous on, like, the short tracks, but there was never really, like, it was never really, like, he was always kind of an afterthought. No offense to him. He's always kind of an afterthought.
Yeah,
Then he won that race at Bristol, and ever since then, I mean, he's been winning races. He went on that streak where they won like 2 races in a row.
yep, sure did.
In 23, whenever that was, and he looked great. He was like pretty much set up to be like the hottest guy going into the playoffs. But he looks to have another strong car this year. RFK, like we keep mentioning, is very good. It's nice to see some of
Absolutely.
these smaller guys that kind of have alliances out there. Spire, that second tier, that Spire, that RFK, 2311, looking really strong to start the year. And it is a draft.
Absolutely.
It is a drafting track as we go along in the year too, and the money starts getting a little tighter. They're gonna fall off a little bit, but for now, seeing everybody kind of on that more level playing field, it's really nice to see. But that's why I got Chris Buescher right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna go ahead and move up to my 5 because I've got Chris Buescher at my 5. Kind of like you just said, he's one of those guys that, while you may not think of him as a heavy hitter, he's always going to be present, especially on these super speedways. We've already talked about this in the last episode. I've got him ready to go for this weekend at Atlanta. I think he could absolutely be a guy that gets it done. And even at Daytona, started dead last, made a push up to the front, and he was a contender there at the end of it. Got through that last corner or the straightaway wreck. I believe it was a 7th place finish.
Actually, I'm
But
watching it right now. It's about to come around.
there you go.
Reddick just passed Chase Elliott, and
Yeah,
here we go.
seventh
Yep,
place
he
finish.
gets through. The only thing is he might take a little bit of damage. I think he took a little bit of damage when I believe it was Riley Hurt spun right in front of him and Zane Smith.
It might have
But
been. Yeah,
he looked good. He was there.
dude, the POV of him getting through that accident looks insane. I don't know if you've seen it, but
Yeah,
it
I
is
watched it. I
crazy.
watched it.
But Busher, gets the 7th place finish. He's sitting at 7th in points. But the reason I've got him at my 5, like I said, there's a couple guys ahead of him that I do think will probably fall down the list later on. But also another guy where, like Blaney, I think is going to be able to pick it up and get it done this week. So
Yeah.
it's really cut and dry with Busher. He's dangerous. He's going to be dangerous again this week. And at the end of the day, you can win multiple races. And we're not just talking super speedways. It's not like a guy where you're like, yeah, he can win, but it's probably just going to be on a super speedway. He can go to a track like Bristol. He can go to a track like Darlington, and he can perform, have a hell of a day, and get it
Yes.
done. Busher's
Yes,
my
exactly.
5.
Yeah, Busher's one of those guys you could say he is. I wouldn't say he's the best, but he is a top 5
Super talented, man.
all around guy, top 5.
Great
I
dude,
would
too.
Yeah, great dude too. My number 5, this is where we kind of get into more of the history, but also just the top guys for me in my list. Number 5, I have William Byron. I would say that William Byron, the only person I think you could argue is as good as him that has not won a championship. By that, I mean the most talented guy, the most consistent guy that has not won a championship of the current drivers is Tyler Reddick. I would say that those two are the betting. They're not even going to say they are. They are the 2 betting favorites for the next newest new champion winner.
I would say so.
Obviously, they both have won the past three Daytona 500s. But Byron is, I would say, he's turning into the guy at Hendricks. Chase Elliott is always going to be up there. Kyle Larson's always going to be up there because Chase Elliott's so popular, and Kyle Larson is a very good all around driver. And I'm not saying this because I'm a fan of him, but he's starting to turn into that really marketable guy. Once he gets that championship, it's gonna be really hard for Hendrick to figure out who's gonna be the guy that they
Oh,
market. You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Absolutely.
Obviously,
It's already a
right.
problem
Yeah,
for him.
yeah, that's a great problem to have. I'd love to have
Oh,
that problem if I was a
absolutely.
team owner. But with those guys, Byron was running really well. He is consistently at super speedways the best Chevy in the field. Obviously, he didn't have the finish he wanted to have, but I would say he was the best Chevy out there, even in a backup car, even with a little bit of damage from the front. Started near the back like Chris Buescher, and he was able to be up there at the end if it wasn't for him getting hit, by Reddick, which that's just a racing incident. That's nothing against Tyler
Absolutely.
Reddick. Yeah, just
Absolutely.
it's a racing incident. He would have been right there at the end as well. Unfortunately, he didn't get that three-peat, but that's why I have him at 5.
Yeah. I think that's totally fair. And, having him in that spot, you really can't argue, you can't complain. But like I said, I do want to give as much credit to current success as possible.
Yes.
So he's not on my list, but you can believe if he has a good week next week and he gets that point standing up a little bit higher, he's going to be right back in the conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, moving on to 4. I have Busher's boss. Give me Brad K. And this is another one where, kind of like Busher, kind of like Blaney, you've got Fords going into a super speedway.
Hmm.
But also Keselowski had a hell of a week this week. He was right there at the end of it, gets a 5th place finish, and he's sitting 6th place in points. And man, if you're RFK, you really could not ask for a better start to the season. You've got 2 of your cars sitting at 6th and 7th in points. You had 2 really good finishes, and you had 2 bad, fast cars. And then your other car is Ryan Preece, who ain't no slouch. So RFK off to a tremendous start, and I think they carry it on at Atlanta. But I've got Brad ahead of Busher simply because he's right ahead of him in points, even though they're technically tied. But Brad gets the higher finish, so we've got Brad in front just slightly.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead with my number 4. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet, Cody. Joey Logano. If it wasn't for that wreck
Yes,
at the
sir.
end, Joey Logano is one of those guys. He's fast. He's in a Ford. You know, multi-time champion in the sport. He is one of those guys, that also got caught up in that wreck at the end. But you best believe with how Joey Logano is, if he didn't get caught up in that wreck, there's a very good chance that he could have caught those guys. There's a very good chance.
Absolutely, man.
He had a
Absolutely.
fast car. He didn't really get the finish he wanted to, mainly just wrecking the car pretty much, which he wasn't even his fault that it wrecked. He was up there. He's fast, like him or not. He's my number 4. Who's your? No, I'll go ahead and go with my number 3.
Go
I went
ahead,
with
man.
Bubba Wallace as well. Or just not as well, but I
I
went
think
with Bubba
that's
Wallace on my
completely
list.
fair.
I think, like you said, and I'm trying to keep this quick just because we've talked about him before. With Bubba was up there. Bubba definitely could have caught those guys if it wasn't for the unfortunate stuff with Byron at the end of the race. And I think, 23-11 of those kind of second tier teams is in the best spot of anybody right now. And
Absolutely.
it's a good day to be Tyler Reddick or Bubba Wallace in their team owner Michael Jordan.
It's always a good day to be Michael Jordan. Let's be
Yeah,
totally
but it's
honest.
a really good day to be Michael Jordan.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Going
LeBron
up,
James does not have a Daytona 500 win. Just
he does
saying.
not.
Just
Hey,
saying.
maybe one day. We'll have to
Maybe
see.
one
We'll have
day,
to
but
see.
not now.
He's got retirement coming up soon, so he's gonna have to find some other ventures. So hey, he's got to win the GOAT conversation somehow. So I don't know.
We'll see.
MJ's kind of edging him in that GOAT conversation now
I know.
because Daytona 500, no Daytona 500. It's scary stuff if you're LeBron right now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But
Who's
my
your number 3,
3,
Cody?
I've got Chase Elliott. Obviously, like I said, I try and go off a lot of the current success, but also a lot of previous success. Elliott going into Atlanta, home track, is a guy that can win, but
Hmm.
also Daytona 500, he's leading, exiting 4, and if Reddick doesn't get that insane run, he wins this race. We're
Hmm.
looking at Chase Elliott as Daytona 500 champion, and Elliott's not a guy that you can say, oh, he'll have a slouch of a year. Like he'll have a slouch of a middle season. It's hard to stay super consistent all season, but Elliott is one of those guys who can do it. He had a super great average finish all year last year, and he's setting himself up for an incredible season with this start. Obviously, like we had a lot of accidents, a lot of stuff that happened that led him getting in that spot, but at the end of the day, he got there. His race management put him in that position. He was able to hold on to it, and you walk away with a great finish and you're sitting third place in points. That really is all there is to it.
Cody, we did skip your number 4 as well.
Did we?
We did.
No, we didn't. I had Keselowski at my 4.
You did? Oh, we didn't? Okay, no, wait, because I did Joey. I went second on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
I was like, I
No,
didn't
so
think so. No, we're good on that one.
yeah, so I think we both have the same number 1. It's obvious who the number 1 is. It's
You really
Tyler
can't put
Reddick.
anybody else. It's Tyler
The guy
Reddick.
won the race. The guy's a great driver. Like I said earlier, the guy is, I would say, tied as the betting favorite with William Byron to be the next new champion in NASCAR. The guy is set up extremely well, and he is the number 1. He won the Daytona 500. He's had 2 years of him getting so close, yet so far, especially last year with, Byron getting the insane run. This year, he got the insane run, and he got the insane luck. I would say Byron had a little bit more luck in his 2 years, but
Oh, way
Reddick,
more.
but Reddick
Bowman
won.
should have won one of those races.
That is also true. Alex Bowman,
Those lights weren't on.
I
They
don't know
were
about
on.
that one. I don't know
They
about
they
that one.
they were on, but I'm
Oh,
coping.
yeah. So we will go ahead. I'm going to go with my number 2. You've already said it, Cody. Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, like you said, his racecraft put him in that position. If Reddick didn't get that run, there's a very, very good chance that Chase Elliott would have won that race. And I am not mad at all with that finish if you are a Chase Elliott fan. Having the Daytona 500 would have been nice,
I was about to say you're a
but
little upset about it. You're a little
you're,
upset
you're a
about
little
it.
upset. But the thing is, you're now going to Atlanta, like you said. You can't be too upset about it. It's a good start to the year.
Absolutely.
It would be nice to win the Daytona 500, especially, it's great starting off the year with a win, as a guy who started the last 2 years off with a win with their driver. So, but, Chase Elliott's one of those guys, he's always going to be there, and that's why he's at my number 2.
Yeah, and just flip flopping here. I've got Logano at my 2. And just conveniently, my points are just the top 3, or my top 3 are just top 3 in points right now.
That's fair. That's
Logano
totally
has the
fair.
slight edge. Um, and I really couldn't. That really is my only big reason for having them the way that I do. Obviously, Joey finished third, Chase finishes fourth, but the big reason there is the points gap. It's on not the points gap. It's only 3 points, but having them where they are in points, having Logano above Elliott, you could flip flop these two 1,000%, and I wouldn't be mad about it. Obviously, by your ranking, it could literally go either way. But I've got Joey, man. He's just, as much as I wouldn't say that I'm like him or am a fan of him, I respect the hell out of his talent. I respect what he's able to do on the track week in and week out. And just, man, super excited to see what he's able to do. Obviously, he's becoming one of the older guys in the field now, which feels weird to say, but he's got the new haircut, and I think it could be dangerous. Going
A
bald,
lot, a
that
lot more.
changes that changes a mentality for a guy.
That
And bald
changes the
Joey Logano,
aerodynamics, too.
bald Joey Logano could win him another chip.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's a deadly combination, but like I said, you kind of covered everything when you went over it. The talent is just insane. The sky is the limit for Joey. Another championship is not even remotely something that you could say is out of reach. It is always there for him. He's running a Ford, so he's obviously going to be a contender next week. And man, there really is nothing else can say. The only problem is he can't be number one.
It's
He
fair.
can't be number one. Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick, man, you're Daytona 500 champion.
Yeah.
What a weekend for the 45 team, man.
Yeah. That has been our top 10 for the first week of the 2026 NASCAR season. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, We'd love to hear from you guys in the comments as well. Tell us how
Absolutely.
bad we did. Tell us how good we did. Definitely feel free to yell at
Give
us.
us your top tens.
Yeah, if you want to.
See what anybody who's watching this, see what you got to say.
And here's the thing. You might not like my opinion, but my opinion is the only one that matters to me. So I don't really care what you say. I don't care if you say mine's trash. You're my dad. You can't tell me what to do. So, like we said, thank you guys for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed, and we will see you guys next time. You guys have a great rest of your day.